ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back to Successfully Unsigned. I am one of your hosts, D-Shack.
Patty G.
DJ Overheat. We are in Studio South.
Patty's Palace.
Patty's Palace.
One of y'all came up with that, didn't you?
Huh?
One of y'all came up with that, didn't you?
I have no idea.
No, I'm sure it sounds like a deal thing.
Yeah.
It does. But
It kind of does. I don't remember.
We said we want to do like MTV Crib style tours of our studios.
Oh,
and by we, I mean I suggested
Pretty
it so
much.
that I could show off all my stuff.
What do y'all think of that? Do y'all want to see more of Patty's Palace?
Yes, the answer is always yes.
Let the people speak.
I mean, they're getting a small segment of this room. On the
Yes.
other side, there is a whole lot more going on.
Yeah, there's some creepy stuff up there.
yeah,
Like the floating baby head?
I walked in and saw Annabelle, and I was like, I don't know if we should
Wait,
do the podcast in here. I'm a little scared now.
where's Annabelle?
She's over here. Where'd she go?
Where? Yo.
Dude, she was.
Yo.
You did that on purpose.
Yo,
where is she? I swear she was right there. You
I don't have an Annabelle.
You're lying.
I don't lie.
You literally. There was one. It was right there.
Where is Annabelle?
I'm not crazy. Oh, I knew it. I knew it. You tried to make me feel crazy. And she's in a body bag or whatever.
How big is it?
Oh my god.
No.
Annabelle!
No.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Yeah.
No, sir. No.
How do you sleep at night? You have a skeleton at your kitchen table.
Bonnie B. Bones.
Bonnie B. Bones. You've got Annabelle just chilling in here playing with,
So here's the
playing
thing.
Paramore.
Here's the thing. I realized when you walked in, I was like, oh, I forgot to take her away so that it would be more of a surprise. But I was like, maybe he didn't notice. And then you just mentioned it. I was like, great.
Are you kidding? That's the first thing I noticed.
So
I was like, it's all these stuffed animals and stuff. And then all of a sudden it's Annabelle. And you're like,
Dale, she's almost as tall as you.
Shut up.
almost.
Actually, you're almost as tall.
What's in her eye? Is it some dude stretching? What is that?
Oh, no, that's like she's demonic. Okay, so
You don't say.
first off, this is Annabelle.
Is this your show and yell?
Yes, this is my
this
show and
is?
yell.
No.
Give her a little kiss.
She's wearing a High School Musical vintage jacket that I got in an antique store, and then
We're all gonna kill together.
that's good.
Once
That's
we
good.
know.
And you know what? High School Musical will be relevant for later in the show. And then she has a Chuck E. Cheese purse.
Chuck E. Cheese purse.
I mean,
Yes.
that actually kind of does make sense for Annabelle. I don't know why.
Have you ever seen Annabelle?
I think so.
They're good movies,
Part
honestly.
of the Conjuring universe.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
yes. And honestly, out of the Conjuring universe, they're probably my favorite.
Are they?
Yes.
Interesting.
So fun story about Annabelle here. My sweet little girl.
I'm not sure she's so sweet.
So what happened was there's this local toy store, shout out to Replay Toys in Murfreesboro, and they were having a raffle, and it was for this Annabelle doll. This thing cost $500. $500.
Oh my gosh.
Which I'm gonna be honest with you, not worth it. Like the quality of it, not worth it. But she didn't hear that. She's gonna possess me later if I say that. But
You already got so many demons in you for her to
About to
jump in
say,
there
last
too.
episode, I think some of it came out. Some of the possession, some of the.
so what does that mean?
You were just tired. You're fine.
Oh yeah, I was very tired. I'm kind of tired today. But it's fine.
Tired.
So I was like, oh, I need to stop in there because you had to go in the store to enter. And I just never did. And it was like months down the road, probably like 2 months later. And I was like, oh, hey, they still have the contest going on because I just happened to stop in there. And I was like, hey, can I put in 2 tickets? Then a few weeks later, they announced the winner. And sure enough, I look at my ticket and I'm like, that's my ticket. Or I look at the ticket on the picture. I'm like, that's my ticket. And so I pick her up. She's in this big box. It was literally took up my entire back seat of my car.
Can you imagine if you got pulled over with that in there?
I wish I had, honestly. But
Sir,
she
step out of the car, please.
She is beautiful. Great. I love scaring my friends with her. Shout out to our friend Jamie, who is terrified of dolls, literally terrified. And I'm so mad because I didn't get a video because I thought someone else was videoing Joel and he wasn't. And she was coming out of the bathroom and I had her and I like, right as she opened the door, I had her like right in her face and she didn't even scream. She just went, and she like hid behind the door. Like she was terrified. And then at one point, like she kept looking. I have a good video of it. And then at one point I did that. And she freaked out. She's like, I don't like that. But honestly, I was thinking about doing it. By the way, Jamie's just turned 15. So she's pretty young. Also, I'm not hanging out with a random 15-year-old. Let that be known. She's one of my friend's sisters. And she is my friend.
People weren't wondering until now.
Yeah, I was like, I need to clarify that.
Bro, that hole you digging is called your grave.
Right.
But yeah, so she was really freaked out by it. And I almost did it at her house and like hid it in her bedroom. But I'm glad I didn't because she was genuinely terrified.
Yeah.
So here she is with her like full fit. Let me get the jacket off a little bit at least.
Doing a fit check with
Annabelle. There's Annabelle. That's my show and yell. We just kind of jumped right into it because someone had to ruin it.
Hey, I just wanted to know it wasn't crazy. Okay, that's all. Now that I know that it was real and it was over there, I'm good. Because I actually stayed at a bed and breakfast in Birmingham, and it was like this really nice, like, I don't want to say mansion, but it was just like this really nice place. It looked like when you walked in, it looked, what is that? What is the church with the paintings on the roof? Sistine Chapel.
Sistine Chapel.
It's like that, but a house. Ooh. And, they give you a code and like, I got in super late. So I came in, it was around Christmas time. There were dolls like that all over the place.
No.
Including in my room.
No.
Yes.
And I was like, this is the creepiest thing I've ever been a part of. And so ever since then, I've been like, okay.
That'd be the fastest checkout they'd ever had if I was there.
Well, it was so funny because the next morning, like, obviously they hosted breakfast and everything and came down. And I asked everyone at the table, I was like, so dolls, did you guys have any experiences last night with these dolls? Like making any creaking sounds or moving from different places? And one guy was like, yeah, actually, one of the dolls in my room was on top of the dresser. When I woke up, it was on the floor. Like, not even that it had fallen. It was like sitting up on the floor.
The owner is definitely messing with y'all.
Probably. I don't know. It was like an 80-year-old woman. I was like, oh. Anyways.
My aunt used to have a bunch of dolls that were like in the bedroom, the guest bedroom there at the house. And I mean, if I went over there, that was where I'd stay. And I was like, can we like move these?
What is the doll that's like has the red hair and the...
Oh, you're talking about...
Raggedy Ann.
Raggedy Ann.
So
yeah.
Raggedy Ann is actually Annabelle.
Yeah.
Like, so...
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so... they just made Annabelle look a little bit scarier than actual Raggedy Ann doll.
Well, that one's...
But I remember when I first like heard about... what are their names? The Warrens... And I like looked up a website and I looked up their website and it was this black screen and it had Annabelle at the top, not this Annabelle, but like the Raggedy Ann. And it like had this doll singing voice in the background. And I was probably like 12, scarred. I was so scared.
You were scarred.
I was scarred.
He was so scarred. I was scarred.
It was
We're getting all southern now.
Yeah.
But now I love Annabelle. Now I love creepy things, creepy dolls, whatever. So
that's what you call a childhood trauma turned into an obsession.
Yes, and I was so excited too because I feel like I never win those kinds of like contests or anything. Mm-hmm. And so when I found out I won, I was like, yes. And they had me take a picture with it at the store, but then they never sent me the picture. So I was like, what's wrong with y'all? But oh, never mind. I love you, Replay Toys. Sorry.
Well, I mean, if you want to cover back up, you're welcome to.
Please.
I mean, it is staring at me, but it's fine.
My sister used to have a whole collection of Raggedy Ann and Andy like stuff, like just different random memorabilia. Like she turned that thing away from me. But she had all kind of stuff. She had like some blankets that had like quilts and stuff.
Yeah.
She had a bunch of the dolls. She had a bunch of
my
other
mom had
things.
2 giant ones, Raggedy Ann and Andy.
She used to
making
have
them
so
bigger
much.
and bigger now. They're not even like dolls anymore. They're just mannequins like in your home.
It's actually Raggedy Ann and Andy.
Right.
So when I first got her, I was like, I mean, I wasn't scared, but I was like, it's kind of weird to like have this door open. So I would like close the door, and then I was like, I'm used to her. So now, yeah, my door's open all the time, and like,
Just chill with possession in your house. Okay.
Yeah. Hey.
I mean, what happens in third story apartments?
don't reveal my location.
Not
I'm
my
gonna
baby.
get doxxed.
Yeah. All the fans come outside.
Yes.
Anyways,
okay.
so
Well, y'all do your show and yell.
Yeah.
Mine was boring.
that
Don't think we call
mine
that
are-
Oh, I forgot real quick. In her purse, she came with this. Miss me?
Miss me.
No,
It says miss me.
Miss me? Like a question.
I did not.
Well, this just keeps getting creepier. And so
Yep.
Patty
So-
G's palace turned into like, I don't know, Patty G's
prison.
prison. Yeah.
Anyways, Dale.
Cool. So my show and yell, I am actually wearing it today.
Your black shirt?
Yes, my black shirt. It is it's very soft.
It's really soft.
nice-
Yeah.
You should feel
it's
it.
a nice soft
Yeah,
shirt.
it's very jazz, like appropriate.
Yeah, I just saw it in my closet. I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm wearing today.
Yee.
And it's not wrinkled, which is pretty big for you.
Probably because it's been in my closet for like 4 months.
Hey.
Enough time for those wrinkles to slowly dissolve. But
Tell us about your amulet.
my show and yell today is this beaded medallion, this beaded necklace that I have. A friend of mine made this.
You didn't yell it.
Shout out! Oh, wait.
Shout a little bit. I have neighbors, but shout a little bit.
It's a beaded necklace, y'all! Y'all happy?
Yes.
Cool. So if you watched the first season, you actually probably saw me wearing this a lot. It's one of my favorites that I have. It's a handmade, hand beaded medallion that a friend of mine made and gave to me. Shout out to Brad BL Joe, Mr. Nikon camera guy, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool guy down out there in Oklahoma. Great photographer, so go check out his stuff. But he also beads, and he does a lot of different beadwork. And this is a piece that he made. It has a emblem in the middle of it that's a pair of stickball sticks for the sport that I play. And then the outside is all the hand beaded beads on the back of some leather.
I didn't know he made that. That's cool. I didn't know he beat it at all. You're
Yeah.
a cool guy. I've never met you, but we follow each other on Instagram. So
He does a lot of beading. He does medallions like this. He oftentimes does the Choctaw the princess crowns. He beads a lot of those. He does some like I said, he does some really great work. So if you're on Instagram and you like photography, you like some native beading, go check out his page there. BL Joe.
Just beat it.
I think that's his
Beat
current
it.
tag.
Is it? Sorry, continue.
No, but I'll link his Instagram there if you want to check out his work.
Nice.
David.
My turn. Okay. So mine is a little embarrassing, but every now and then I like to throw in a little embarrassing one, but just because to change it up, you know. So I played baseball for a number of years. And one year they decided instead of just taking pictures, they were going to make trading cards out of all of us.
Oh, that's cute.
And so this is me.
Can I have one?
You can have one if you'd like.
Oh my goodness. That's so
let me see.
cute.
Take one. And so on the here, I'll
Yo, it's
85 pounds. Man, do you still weigh that?
more like 285.
so
Send me a picture of this.
I
Yeah,
love that.
It has like my position and my number. This was my favorite year to play baseball, honestly.
Pitcher and third base.
Yeah, dude. This is the year I pitched like a shutout, like 2 games in a row, which was really cool. And so yeah, it has like all my this is basically an ID for me because like my height, my weight, like I'm right-handed.
I'm going to use it as my ID.
I mean,
Like if I get pulled over.
this will get you in any club. Honestly, show this to the bouncer and you're in.
Yeah, I like the little hip hop that you do.
Yeah. Yeah, they told me to do
Got
that.
some sass.
They told me, and then the glove on the shoulder,
Yeah.
that I could not.
You're literally like,
That's what they told me to do. They were like, put the glove on your shoulder and put the bat around your other shoulder. I'm like,
also
huh?
Cardinals?
Yeah.
Isn't that like a real team?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, the the ballpark that I played at, every team was like a real.
Oh, that's
so
cute.
we would play like the Marlins and we'd play, Blue Jays, all that,
Nice.
which was cool. And that's how I became like a Cardinals fan, like
Yeah, really.
playing for the Cardinals. And
know-
so, yeah, it was really fun. But I just thought this was cool to share. And I guess it has my wins and losses on here.
Wait, blonde hair?
Yeah, I was like super blonde
Really?
back then, like super light blonde.
I mean, this picture is so pixelated, but it doesn't even look like you.
No, it looks like some distant reality that I wasn't a part of. But
Secretly, it's not him.
because I used to be like super into sports. Like I was playing football, I was playing baseball, I was playing basketball, and then I picked up a guitar and then it was over. Like it's like pretty much. Sorry, Dad.
You know where this is going?
No, please don't associate me
You're
with
cursed
the
now.
purse.
You're genuinely cursed.
Can you not?
Is that like voodoo dolls when you put a little
It's
personal
like
item on the
a
voodoo
tarot
doll?
card now, or
tarot-
what do you call it?
tarot card,
Tarot
yeah.
card.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. But anyways, yeah, that's mine.
awesome.
I didn't even yell it, but I want to yell when I see it. So
One thing that like I love about baseball is minor league teams.
Yeah, he's like loves them.
I love minor league. I love minor league teams though because of the awesome, weird, quirky, random names that some of them have, like the Monterey Biscuits. That's just awesome. I really want to say Monterey Cheddar Biscuits, and I don't know why.
no,
Or
just
like
plain.
the Flying Squirrels.
There's like a banana one that's popular on
Okay,
TikTok.
so they're not actually a minor league team though. They're kind of like the Globetrotters.
Okay. I know of the Globetrotters. The Harlem.
that's
So
So I don't think
they're a group that does tricks and comedy. They're a comedy act that uses the sport as
Yeah.
their means of delivery.
Sure.
So they do weird, wacky, random tricks. The Savannah Bananas is who you're talking about.
Okay.
And they're based out of Savannah, and they do tour. In fact, I think they're coming to Nashville before long, and I'd really love to go see that show. That'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, they're a comedy trick kind of thing.
Oh.
So it's not actually part of the league.
Oh.
The Globetrotters, however, did start as part of the league, and they started doing their own thing, and then the league hated them and kicked them out and said, "You're your own thing now." But now they make bank going. Well, they did for a while. Made bank going around, just doing cool performances. But no, like I love legit minor league team names, and one of my goals in life is to have a hat collection with the weirdest of the minor league teams that I can find.
That's cool.
Like I want
really
just
cool.
all the hats of the weird ones.
I feel like that's a collection that I would want. So
Yeah.
I really love that.
Right.
It just
It's like
seems
that's a collection you might already have, and you're just not saying it.
I
open
wish
this closet.
if I don't open that closet, it has so much junk in it. But
other cursed dolls.
Yeah.
no, I don't think so.
The fact that you had to think about that is concerning.
Well, y'all haven't even seen my clowns over there. Well, you see the one little clown down there? My sister literally got that off of those free pages from Facebook. It's
You talking about that
definitely
little
cursed.
purple one?
Yeah,
Oh my
by
God,
Shrek.
the
Isn't that no wait
in front of Shrek.
the little bitty one?
Oh, that one's creepy.
No, it's pretty tall.
Yeah, it has a hat on.
Oh no, the little pink one is
That's that-
Mime Junior
that's that-
from Pokemon.
Wait,
Mime Junior. And then, do you see in front of Shrek the little pointy yellow hat?
Yeah.
oh yeah, I do see that.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of isn't that the little one that sings? The little purple one with the the shirt with the it looks like a green and pink shirt. The one that I hate.
Yes. Those aren't clowns though.
It looks like one.
Also, this is not part of Show and Yell, but this I just grabbed him because I just like to hold something.
He's lonely.
But this is my vampire stuffy for Halloween, and his name is Edward. That's just a fun fact. of today. No, Edward like Twilight.
Oh.
I was unequivocally and irrevocably
There you
in
go,
love
buddy.
with him. I don't know the word.
Oh, what?
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's from Twilight.
Why Edward,
Idiot.
bro?
Because he's a vampire. Duh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we there's our show and yell. We are gonna actually take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna get into our topic today, which is finding your sound. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Guys, we are back, and the topic today is finding your sound.
Okay, why'd you copy me?
That's not the sound. We'll auto-tune
We're
it.
going to do a barbershop trio.
We should.
You know what we
Find
should
your
do?
sound.
Find your sound.
Find your sound.
Oh.
I didn't know what key y'all were in. It was in
I
the
don't
key
even-
of Z. I don't know what.
Yes.
But anyways, I don't know what I was trying to
Key
say
of
there.
F flat.
F flat.
Key. Okay, what?
Sorry, we are talking about finding your sound tonight, which sounds on the surface very simple, and it's like, well, I should know my sound as an artist, but sometimes it's a little bit more nuanced than you think. I kind of just want to start with my experience with that. Like, I started out as sort of a commercial, like, pop artist, and I had influences, like, obviously, again, sorry, Taylor fans, I like John Mayer, and I listened
We'll bleep that out.
We'll bleep it out, right?
That curse word.
I know. Sorry, Annabelle. So
Get me outta here.
that was kind of my influences, but my songs are like based on a lot of his earlier stuff, his singer-songwriter stuff. And as I kind of evolved my sound, it became a little bit more jazz and blues influenced, and like bossa sometimes in some of the songs. And then it got to the point where I was making like tracks and I wanted them to get, released and mixed and mastered and stuff. And the guy that does my mixing and engineering and stuff, he contacted me. He was like, okay, give me some of your influences and some of your artists that you kind of want your song to sound like. And of course, I didn't really have a straight answer for him. Like he was like, send me some songs of like samples that you want your music to sound like. And I had to really stop and think about, okay, what is my sound? And after a couple days, I had come up with some influences and like given him some songs that kind of reflected what I want my music to kind of sound like going forward, because that is an important element of it. Especially if you want to incorporate a band at some point. If you're a singer-songwriter, even like the timbre of your voice, that's important, because like finding artists that have that same, not the same timbre, but like a similar tone you want to go for, letting your mix engineer know that is an important, you can attest to that. Like it's important to know that to kind of dial in the sound that you want. So I would say that's like one thing I had to learn like later on, because again, you think you sort of know, I know my sound, but you sort of don't. You definitely need to put a lot of thought into like what your influences are, what you're pulling from, and kind of what you hope to achieve with your sound. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right on that. In finding your sound, well, if you're an artist and you're going into a studio, the first thing that anyone is going to ask you is the same thing that you were asked, David. What is your goal? What are you trying to sound like? You can't just say, I'm my own thing, because ultimately every artist is a little different, and that's fine. But you still are in this realm of something called music, and all music is going to share certain facets. It's going to share sounds. It's going to share similarities. Again, music is the universal language. Why? Because everyone can understand it to some point, and it's going to sound like something else to a degree, and that is fine. There is nothing wrong with your music sharing similarities with other people, and you need to find what similarities you have for multiple different reasons. One, so whoever is working with you, a producer or engineer, can understand what direction you're wanting to go and help you get there. And two, so you can market yourself and so your audience knows what to expect when you get in there, right? So like there was this one band that I was listening to, just as an example. I heard a couple acoustic versions of songs that they had. That was my first touch and introduction into that band. And I loved what they had. I was like, man, this is some really good music. So I went to their page and I started listening to everything else. And I came to find out that them as a band is completely different than those select 2 or 3 songs that I heard. That was a shock to me. I wasn't expecting that. And I say this because that was kind of a branch out for them. That was something different for them. That wasn't their sound. Their sound was this other thing. And honestly, I didn't like the other thing that much. That wasn't what I was there for. I was hoping for more of this side thing. But in either regard, what they took to both directions, they did really well for what it was. I just, like I said, what the other thing wasn't my personal preference. But you could tell that when they went into studio and whoever they worked with understood what they were trying to reach, because you have to understand what you're trying to reach. And if you cannot quantify that in words and in descriptions, then whoever it is that's trying to help you engineer or produce can't help you get there either. Yeah. They can mix stuff all day long. They can produce stuff and throw ideas out there all day long. But if they don't know where you're trying to go, they can't help you get there.
Right. And albums also, if you're trying to release an album, need to have a theme. And so like from one song to the next, you can have a little bit of nuance, but for the most part, it needs to have a consistent theme and like sound.
You have to have a feel. You have to have a sound. Yeah. You can have some. You can mix it up between your upbeat, happy, fast beat songs and then your ballads. You can mix that up, but there's still going to be a kernel of the similarity that is you, or should be in there. Otherwise, what you have compilation albums, best of the '80s, right?
Yeah.
But even then, they have some similarities probably because they were chosen for that album.
Yeah.
If you're going and cutting out, okay, what songs am I going to do for this, or where am I going to go? Find those things that are common and run with that. That's going to help you as an artist so much.
Yeah. Let me go ahead.
You're not that special to have your own sound. Basically, in the sense, like what you were saying, if you go in, you're like, oh no, I'm like doing my own thing. I feel like people who are in any sort of creative space, period, like I'm in design, music, like art, anything. Oh, well, I'm doing something different. Like I want to do something that no one's ever done before. That it's not possible.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you can do something that's really unique, but still in a way like someone else has done it. Like been there, done that. So it's okay to be like, oh yeah, I'm influenced by this person. It doesn't mean you're going to sound exactly like them. And yes, there is going to be something that's unique about you that sets you apart, but you still do have the influence whether you like it or not.
Go ahead, sorry.
Because everything influences us.
Absolutely. You're going to be influenced by other things. And yeah, you might have some uniqueness about you. And we hope that you do, because that's what makes you different than someone else. You are going to have some things that are different, but ultimately you're still going to be building off the same blocks that everyone else has to a point. And you're going to be pulling in influences. Maybe you pull in some abstract influence that is weird for this genre.
Yeah.
Maybe you do that and that's what makes you different for the genre. That's what makes you sound different, because you're mixing different things together, but you're still blending things. But one thing I can say from a production or producer and engineering perspective is, if you go into a studio and they ask you, hey, what is your sound? Who are your inspirations? Who can we listen to that you want to sound like in either A, B, or C realm, whatever that is, right? And if you can't give them an answer, if you can't say, hey, I want my music to sound like XYZ, like Britney Spears, if you can't give them a name, that is a quick way to be turned right out the door.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to waste their time trying to discover for you who you want to be.
Right. You need to have your identity as an artist set.
Yes. And that doesn't mean that it can't change and evolve, because that absolutely happens.
Yes.
You can change and evolve album to album. You can change and evolve over time. That's fine. But you have to, for each project that you're going up for, you have to know what you want it to sound like.
Yeah.
It may not sound like that at the end. That's entirely possible. Mm-hmm. You might start collabing with other people, like we talked about last episode, and it'd be completely different by the end. But that's fine.
Yeah. Man, that's a good point, man. Yeah, because engineers, especially, like you said, they're not going to sit there and like try and solve your identity crisis as an artist. Like
they're there to do a job.
You need to walk in there with confidence and say, these are my influences. This is what I want to sound like. This is what I've pulled from. Have some example songs ready to go.
Yes.
Maybe make a trading card of your of your own identity
But
with your influences.
But you're
not
not
going
wrong.
away.
In all honesty, that is a trick that some producers will use.
Yeah.
Is like, hey, if maybe the artist as an artist knows kind of their identity, but they have a song that they're like, man, I really don't know what direction to take this song. Do we take it this way? Do we take it this rock kind of thing? Do we take it this pop thing? Do we take it more jazzy? Right. And one of the things that some producers will do will take out paper and pen and just say, hey, list out different things. Tell me, give me ideas. Just start writing things down. And before you know it, you'll have like, ooh, what if we mix this and this and this and this, all of these things together. And you have like this cool concept at the end that you can actually tangibly work with.
Of course. So I kind of want to do a little experiment with you two real quick. And Dale, if you forgive me if this is like putting you on the spot or whatever, but like, I know Dale also makes music. Again, check out his music. Dale Shackford just released
Dale Shack.
Dale
Big
Shack.
fan.
Dale Shack. Burn Your Name. Listen to that one. Great song.
Thank you.
I want to ask Patrick first. What do you think Dale's sound is, and what do you think his influences are?
I don't like that.
Like when you like subjectively listen. Then we'll ask Annabelle what she thinks.
I don't know. I'm not good with genres of music, but it's not folk, but like the influence is definitely there. I mean, like you literally did a whole thesis on blues, so I know that's a big influence for you. As far as like artists, I don't really know. You're so unique. You have your own sound. No, I'm kidding.
Shut up.
So we saw Amigo the Devil, and I said, "Oh, he's like an influence, especially for this one. He has this song called
Talking about Gravity?
Oh, well, that's the one that you said was an influence, but to me, your song, I can't think of it.
Have to let go.
Have to let go. Reminds
Okay.
me so much of Amigo the Devil. It reminds me so much. And you said no, that he wasn't really an influence for it.
I think I wrote that one before I found it.
Are you sure?
I think so.
I don't think so.
Maybe they stole it from him.
But no, because you wrote it at least in like 2020, 2021. I know because it's
that's right.
based off of a specific instance.
That's right. It was 2020.
Yeah. So anyway, but either way, that's like a specific artist that I know that Dale likes, and I don't know. I can answer for you. Well, other than John Merritt, one time David performed "This Love" by Maroon 5. It had all the white boys jumping, and it was "This Love," right?
It's harder to breathe, but yeah.
No, it was like one of their like.
It was harder to breathe. Are you talking about the Laundry Room show?
No. Karaoke with London and Johnson.
Oh, okay.
I think you sang "This Love," or
I was thinking like
one of them.
actually performing.
No, I don't pay attention to your actual performances. No, that's why I said it had all the white boys jumping.
You got to weed some people out.
Yeah.
Find your real fans.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I was when I saw you perform that, and like the way that the audience, especially the men, like got lit. It was so, I was like, oh my goodness, that was when I was like, he is an artist, which I know is such a weird specific point, and like you were just having fun with it, but to me I'm like, oh my goodness, like I see you as like an Adam Levine.
Well, that's funny.
Not in personality wise, because he doesn't cheat on his non-existent wife. But
there it is. Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that. My last track that I released, Running It Back, was like I wanted the production for that track to be based off Songs for Jane.
Okay.
So that like entire album is like one of my favorite albums. And Maroon 5 is one of my like influences, or their earlier stuff.
Yes.
They're more commercial now, but
yes.
Hands All Over was like one of their albums too, where I wanted to pull some from that. So yeah,
he got the moves like Jagger.
That's on the trading card too.
Got the moves like Jagger.
But also like you have like a little like, which I guess Maroon 5 does too, or early Maroon 5 does, but like the little like Latin guitar like going on, you like your Mona Lisa song especially. So you got that going on, and then with Dale's music, I don't typically like the music that he likes. I don't really care for as much. Like I can appreciate it and I do like it, but it's not something that I venture out and listen to on my own. Whereas like John Mayer and Maroon 5, while I'm not like huge fans of them, like constantly listening to them, if their song like comes on the radio, like I'll know it and I'll enjoy it.
Nostalgia.
John Mayer, I actually do like all of John Mayer's music. I just don't actively listen to him, but I think that's kind of that's why I'm like, I can pinpoint your influences a little more. Whereas like your influences, I know like blues and some other things, but like I don't listen to the stuff to really to be able to pinpoint it.
Okay. What is your influences then? What are your influences?
Well, first, I mean, it's also fair because David, a lot of your influences are a lot more of the commercial route.
Sure.
Than
You're basic.
But a lot of my influences are a lot more subcontext indie or less, less radio ready kind of influences for the stuff that I write. But yeah, you're right. People like, artists like Amigo the Devil are an influence on kind of the more folk. He's kind of a dark folk, dark Americana kind of vibe thing. It's some really interesting music there. But some of the other stuff, like early on, a lot of my earlier writing was heavily influenced by like John Denver. A lot of the first songs that I wrote were directly like, they weren't intentionally influenced that way, but that was who I knew, and that were a lot of the early songs that I learned to play were his songs, and so a lot of it was directly from that.
Yeah.
A little later, some of like the more, some of the more country-ish Eagles stuff.
Okay.
It's still kind of folk rock, still kind of that South Cal rock, right? Some of their more quote unquote countryer parts. There was some influence there. I can tell you for songs like Burn Your Name, the most recent release, that was heavily influenced by Manchester Orchestra. That was a band that I came across at that point in time, and their song The Silence was a huge influence. But even more so than that, their song I Know How to Speak was just a huge influence on Burn Your Name. I loved that song. Great song. And
which is ironic because Dale does not know how to speak.
Apparently not. But no, I mean, that wasn't even intentional.
There it is.
But no, some bands like that, some stuff like that. It's kind of the folk, some of the Delta blues. I loved like Skip James's music. He's an old Delta blues artist from, the 30s and 40s. I think he has some really cool harmonic stuff that he does with his guitar playing and his voice that I loved, and tried to incorporate a little bit of the concepts of what he does. I mean, obviously I'm not sounding like him by any means, but I like what he was doing with his guitar and his voice at the same time. And so for some of the stuff that I haven't released, that's more of an influence. Definitely the Delta blues stuff is definitely a lot more of an influence on the stuff that I haven't released than the stuff that I have.
Yeah.
But very Americana based. And so it's good to know kind of what you want going into any kind of songwriting process, whether you're doing something on your own or whether you're going into a studio with other people. It's even more important when you're involving third parties.
Sure.
Or even just a second party other than yourself.
Yeah. Especially like, I guess the whole point of that exercise was like, it's good to ask people.
Yes.
Like, what do I sound like? Like I asked after every show, I find somebody and I'm like, what is the sound you're getting from this? What is the vibe? And they'll give me some things and I'm like, oh, do I sound like this person? And then you sort of start to explore what elements of that they mean. And of course it's all subjective, right?
Right.
But there's 9 times out of 10 there is a theme. So I was just trying to see if you guys would match up on what you'd say.
Yeah, and one thing I would say is when you're trying to find what you sound like, or maybe you know what you sound like, and you're trying to provide some reference tracks, which is what a lot of engineers will call it, reference tracks to someone else. A reference track can doesn't have to, like, the entire song doesn't have to sound like what you want to sound like. You can pull specific things like, hey, I really like how the drums sound in this song. Like, this song is kind of the drum feel that I want, whether it's more sonically, you know, like I like the tone of it, or whether it's the part, you can pull the part. Like, hey, I really like how the vocal is treated in this. It's really cool. Like, it's really dry in the verses, and then the chorus just, you know, breaks out and goes wide and stuff like that. As you pull reference tracks, you can pull specific things. Like, the entire rest of the song could be in a totally different genre, totally different singer, and you could say, I like this element of this song, and I want for this element of my song to be referenced to that.
Yeah.
You can do those things when it comes to finding reference songs for a production. But one question I would ask, especially like of you, David, is if you're out there and you don't know what you sound like, and you're at that, you know, because all of us at some point are, you know, whether you've written your first song or your 10th song, at some point, all of us don't know what we sound like. We don't know our influences really.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know what we want to sound like. So how do you go about figuring that out?
First thing you do is you open Spotify and you go to recently played. And then you go to your Discover Weekly, and then you listen to that and you see what they suggest for you.
My Discover Weekly is trash, by the way.
Mine this week was kind of disappointing, but it's okay. I had some like lo-fi that I fell asleep to, and then it was like, oh, you like lo-fi now? I'm like, sure, but not 20 of the songs. You know what I mean?
It thinks I only like 70s rock, and
Yeah.
I almost never listen to 70s rock
So yeah, I would say just
anymore.
going back and I was big on that too. My dad was big on 70s
great.
rock. It is great. I loved it. But yeah, just going back, listening to or looking at things that you've listened to in the past, and you've pulled something from there. Like, you may not know. It may just be one song that you randomly heard. You pull from that. So that's what I would say.
What would you guys say my influences would be if I was a singer? Well, I am a singer.
Melanie Martinez for sure.
Spice Girls.
Spice Girls. Cheetah Girls.
Young
anything
Britney.
with girls in the title. Miley.
Okay. First off,
Hannah Montana.
that's better. Yeah, I wouldn't say
better one.
Miley. I would say Hannah
That's
Montana.
better, yeah.
It's
Transitions.
yes, Spice Girls. Basically, bubblegum pop. Like, if I made music, I would love to just make the most fun, stupid, materialistic album.
fruity.
Like,
What
just
is-
so crazy and wild.
What is that movie? We've seen it a couple times. Just Friends with
Ryan Reynolds.
with Ryan Reynolds and
the
what is her
Anna
name?
Faris?
Anna Faris. The Anna Faris is
Forgiveness.
her whole artist persona
Sorry.
is what this guy would be.
Yes. I like that you said Melanie Martinez, but I don't think that I would be that in tune with myself. Like, she's very like smart and like made a concept album. I don't think I would do that. I'd be like,
Yeah, I could see you making a concept.
I'd be like, the
All About
girls who
Dolls.
made UGLY, You Ain't Got No Alibi. That's my inspiration.
like the. What, I was
I'm
gonna say
glad
the
you can
Pussycat
spell.
Dolls.
Says you.
I just can't speak.
So speaking of Hannah Montana, we're going to take a quick break and be right back talking about that same subject. Whoa, crazy.
Ooh, well, sort of.
Sort of.
The other half of it.
The other side, the other side, the other side of me. Wait, Dale, you have something on your back.
What?
It didn't work.
I was like, what? I knew at least one of those made sounds.
He has a horse on his back.
Oh my god.
That is my first Build-A-Bear. His name is Sharky, even though he's a turtle, and his little shell is a backpack with a little zipper on it. It's so cute.
Aw.
He's got a stick horse, man.
Yeah,
I used to love stick horses.
I've had this since like 2004, and the neigh still works. So, shout out to Build-A-Bear.
That's a good.
Can you put it back? Put things like, were you raised in a barn?
Build a
Yes.
turtle.
Okay,
I was raised in Oklahoma.
Welcome back.
welcome back. So we are trying to start some new segments, so we're not just talking y'all's ear off about a bunch of stuff that no one cares about. Kidding.
Says
But-
the one non-music guy here.
We do not support that joke on Successfully Unsigned.
Hey, don't copy me.
Disclaimer.
So one of the segments that we want to do is an artist segment. So one of us picks an artist, and then we just kind of go in depth about it. I guess we can kind of decide whether we want to do like an overall general view or focus on album, focus on a song. I guess we'll kind of decide as we go. Today's artist, which I did not pick, by the way, I would just like to clarify that David picked this artist. We have Miley Cyrus. So to give us a little visual aids, I have Miley Cyrus's Miles to Go, her autobiography, probably with a ghostwriter. Oh, there's some fun pictures in here. I've actually never read this, but I love celebrity biographies.
I love how you just have this book on standby.
Well, I use them
like hidden in the clown, like stuffed animals. Just pulled it out.
I actually use I use books for decor, but I use celebrity books for decor because I think they're funny. But let's read a little passage real quick. Before we went on the Cheetah Girls tour, I literally just randomly picked this. My mom made one demand. Usually when you're on tour for a concert, the whole crew stays on buses together. I was sharing a crew with the Cheetah Girls, so the total group was big, about 100 people divided among maybe 4 buses. The dancers, 2 boys and 2 girls, were all in their 20s. I was 13 years old. Mom said she didn't care if I didn't make a dime on tour. She just wanted to make things as normal as possible for me, so we paid for an extra bus for just me, Mom, Mammy, and Noah. Shout out to Noah Cyrus, who is probably doing Ponyo at this point. The rest of the kids stayed in school. Wow, that's cool. Which that actually is going to come back around because we're going to talk about Miley going on tour. Anyway, this is fun. Maybe I'll read this. And then we also, for a visual aid, we have Miley Cyrus herself. This was so perfect when you suggested this. I was like, wait, and we have Hannah Montana. She's supposed to sing, but doesn't have batteries.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Oh, that's scary. That sounded like Annabelle from here.
It did. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So never seen in the same room before. Crazy. We got Miley and Hannah.
Yeah.
Her outfit, honestly, both their outfits are atrocious. These are from season 1.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm sorry. Just can we go back to your never
claim.
seen in like this is the first time these people have ever been seen in the same room at the same time.
Yeah. Like
it's true. What's funny about that?
This video is going to get a million views because of that.
I know,
that's,
right?
Okay, so I have 3 pages of 3 pages of notes. So we're gonna go through Miley's overall career, and you guys just kind of like comment. I'll ask some questions.
Sure.
So first off, Miley was born Destiny Hope Cyrus, which I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Huh.
So
Destiny.
Destiny.
No wonder she changed her name.
So first we get Hannah Montana. This is in 2006. I remember the premiere of Hannah Montana.
Yeah, me too.
And being like, this is crazy. Dale didn't watch children's shows, so don't ask him anything. But first off, Hannah Montana is such a good show. And the music in it is so good. Genuinely so good. I will say something about Disney Channel songs. Once you hit the bridge, the bridge is never good, but the rest of the song is always great.
Yeah.
So great, in fact, that Hannah Montana albums had 2 number 1 and 3 top 5 soundtracks on the Billboard Top 200, and her hit song "He Could Be the One," great song, was in the top 10 for the Billboard Hot 100. Now, if you go back and watch Hannah Montana, warning to all parents who want to show their like now kids Hannah Montana, don't, because she is such a brat. She is so selfish. I never realized it growing up, and I remember Jackson, her brother in the show, would always be like, oh, it's all about Hannah. It's all about Hannah.
He's right.
He was right. She literally was just like, just do this for me.
Yeah.
You know,
and she is such a brat.
You know, I'd see clips of Hannah Montana when I'd go to, you know, like my cousin's house or something like that, or, you know, someone else's place. And that was one of the things, even at that age, that I saw in her that I was like, I hate this. Yeah. I was like, I do not want to watch this show. She is so annoying.
Well, the rest of the cast made up for it. And honestly, I still liked her as a kid, so it's fine. So then, you know, she's in the midst of Hannah. So then she kind of branches off and does her own solo career while she's still doing Hannah. Hannah had 4 seasons, which was like a big deal for Disney Channel because they usually only let you have 3. But if you get 4, that means your show is really good. That's Raven was the first to do it, I think.
That's so Raven. Yeah.
And so she has her own solo career, definitely more like bubblegum pop, my kind of influences. So we have Party in the USA, 7 Things, such a good song. See You Again. And then she releases The Climb for the Hannah Montana movie.
I hated that song. I could not stand that song.
That's actually That actually makes me upset that you say that, because
still hate
that's
that
genuinely such a good song. Like that, I feel like everyone, like even my mom, had that song downloaded.
It reminded me in that song when she holds the note, "It's the climb," of that Tim McGraw song where he's like, "Live like you or die."
That's a good song though. I do like that
and
one.
He, like holds it. So maybe that was one of her influences.
Okay, so Dale's kicked out of the podcast, but
For having good taste.
also Hannah Montana movie. Can we just talk about how she literally rips off her wig in front of a whole bunch of people in Nashville, Tennessee, and then asks them to not tell anyone, like in the news or press, and they just do it, and she keeps her secret for a whole nother season until she finally releases herself to the world. I would tell it. I would be telling everyone. I don't care. I'm sorry, Miley, but I'm telling everyone that I just saw Hannah Montana take off her wig and she's not really Hannah Montana.
Wait,
Okay.
what?
So you know the premise of Hannah Montana, right? That she's living a double life. So she's a teenager, but she wants to keep her normal life. So she throws on a wig and pretends to be Hannah Montana, and no one knows that Miley Cyrus is or Miley Stewart is Hannah Montana.
Right.
So in the Hannah Montana movie, there's a whole bunch of build up to it, but eventually she's doing this concert and she takes off her wig, revealing to hundreds of people.
Okay, but it was in the concert. I thought you meant like on set. I'm like, but everybody knew.
No. In the movie.
Oh, okay.
Is what I mean.
Never mind.
That's why I was saying it wasn't realistic.
I got you.
Okay, so moving on from Hannah Montana. Sorry, I spent way longer on that than I wanted. But she goes into her Hannah Montana's over now. She's trying to like get away from that image, so she releases Can't Be Tamed, which is little raunchy, little she's pushing the edge a little bit, but it's more of like dance pop, nothing crazy.
It gave me very Paris Hilton vibes at the time.
Okay.
Like when she first went when she first went out like as Miley Cyrus instead of Hannah Montana with her music releases, like that was who I associated with her at the time.
I am shocked you knew who Paris Hilton was at that age.
I mean, her DJ stuff was terrible, but yeah.
I'm seriously shocked that you knew that.
I didn't like it, but I knew it.
I mean, good for you though. We support Paris on the show. So I read something really interesting in 2008. So this is 2 years before Can't Be Tamed comes out. Donny Osmond, who was a teen idol in the 70s, wrote, "Miley will have to face adulthood. As she does, she'll want to change her image, and that change will be met with
Well done.
Now who can
that
talk?
change will be met with adversity." What do you guys think of that?
I mean, I think it was fairly accurate because when she first really started pushing herself as Miley, what did she do? She completely rebranded who she was.
Right.
She rebranded herself instead of the sweet, innocent, cute little like, Disney Channel princess kind of idea. She went the opposite direction to, she's like, I'm going to be a sex icon. I'm going to be, like you said, like her early songs especially were pushing kind of that more carefree, young adult, raunchy lifestyle. Like that became the image that she tried to push with the whole, even if you want to look like the whole Wrecking Ball, music
Which
video
we'll get
and
to.
all of that kind of stuff. Like that became her new image. That's who she pushed herself to be. Now it's interesting how she's kind of taming down from that now.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to all of that.
Okay,
but
my bad.
I just meant like, I guess I found it really interesting that in 2008 he says this, and he even says it's going to be met with a lot of adversity, because I do remember, which, like I said, when we get to it, especially her like bangers era, people like, you could not go a week without hearing someone make fun of Miley Cyrus and how she's gone crazy like every other childhood star.
Well, I feel like that's the challenge of most Disney Channel stars is like, how do you get out of that and still be a person that people perceive? Because the problem with being on Disney Channel for anybody is like, you're perceived as this perfect princess that never does any wrong.
And she was like 12 when she started, which is crazy.
And then people find out, oh, they have a life and they have interests, and it's like maybe those interests don't align with the values of Disney Channel.
Right. Yeah.
And that shouldn't be a shock to anybody. That's everybody has their own life and makes their own decisions. And if, we accept that from like Adam Levine or whatever, and then we see Miley Cyrus and we have a stand. We've like made these like standards in our head.
They're the golden child.
Sure.
Yes.
And then when they do something that's a deviation from that, you're like, oh, what are they doing? They've gone off their rocker. They've gone off the deep end.
Well, that's part of the marketing, right? The outrage factor, right? Because any publicity is good publicity, as we've discussed.
Taylor.
Yeah. And so, just the negative context, it gets people's attention.
Well, I mean, look at the same thing happened with Demi Lovato.
Yeah.
And to an extent, Ariana Grande.
And my thing with that, like, I think you have your like 3 different childhood stars of which way they can go. You have like Selena Gomez and Hilary Duff, like super, like they stayed pretty wholesome for the most part. Like they may have done a few things here and there, but like for the most part, people really liked them even after Disney, and like they kept their image pretty clean. They didn't like go off and do a bunch of crazy drugs or anything. You have your like Miley's and Ariana's where they started doing more like adult things and people didn't like it because it was drastic. But it wasn't, they're not like going off the deep end ODing or anything. And then you have your Demi's, your Britney's, your Lindsay's, where they are a laughing stock because of they've now been in rehab a ton of times and they have a genuine addiction or problem and no one's talking about it and no one's taking care of it. And that's a whole nother rant that I could go on of how the media treated Britney, Lindsay, and anyone else. Just women, period. But especially like childhood stars, it's like, well, yeah, of course they're going off the deep end because all you're doing is making fun of them. And Perez Hilton, I blame you. You're to blame. Anyway, so
but I mean, you're right. I mean, at some point you have to, if you were a child star of any kind, at some point you either slink back into the shadows of anonymity until you're old enough to completely come out as your own individual person and you have confidence and you just push in and you're like, all of a sudden this is just who I am and everybody has to accept it or not. And they don't remember, it's been long enough that they don't remember. For instance, like I think about, and I can't think of his name. He was in Indiana Jones and then he just recently was in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
Someone like that, right? Childhood star to an extent. And then, what now? He's a grown adult. He's doing his own thing. Or you push through some kind of adversity and rebrand yourself publicly.
Yes.
And like the people you just mentioned, or like if you want to throw in there Justin Bieber is another character that's very similar, that went through a similar process to an extent from childhood, wonder boy to,
I mean, growing up is hard, period. Like it's just hard. And coming into yourself and figuring out who you are is hard. And then to do that in front of billions of people, it's just not like, it just unfathomable. Oh my gosh, I cannot speak tonight, but y'all know what I'm trying to say.
Unfathomable.
So, and I follow like a lot of smaller childhood stars, or like they haven't done as much. So like I'm literally wearing my Topanga shirt. Danielle Fishel, like she now does a podcast about Boy Meets World, and it's like that show was so long ago, and like all the respect and love to her, but it's one of those things where it's like you either have to, like you said, well, I feel like you either have to like go wild and do something completely different until you eventually kind of grow into your own, kind of how Miley has done, or you have to fade into anonymous. I really cannot speak.
There's going to be a compilation.
Okay. Literally. And you just either just completely go away, or you come back and all you're talking about is the glory days, and it's kind of like, oh, that's cute, and like I like it, but also
well,
but at the same time, it's I've seen so many child stars be like, it's terrible because you grow up and you don't have any money, because a lot of times child labor laws for anything in the industry, terrible. But they're like, it's so weird for millions of people to know who you are and to like, you're famous, but you're broke. So it's just so many different facets.
And think about it, like, think about what we all went through, going through our late teens and early 20s. You know what I mean? Imagine late teens. I was 10, brother. 10. But imagine that being under the microscope.
Yes.
And then everything you've done and everything you've said is being scrutinized.
Yes.
Your Facebook post that you're embarrassed about in your memories.
Everyone will always remember.
Everyone will know.
Yep.
And so it's just the challenge that growing up in that lifestyle presents.
Yes.
For anybody, but
Yes.
especially for people who put themselves under the spotlight early.
Yes. And like as big of a spotlight like Hannah Montana and Disney and everything like that. So like going off of that in 2010, so he says this in 2008, it comes through 2010, she releases Can't Be Tamed. It's kind of like, ooh, Miley, like you're doing a bit too much. And then a video releases of her using a bong, and it's released by TMZ, and it was like this whole thing.
Yeah.
People were freaking out. And she actually reposted it back in 2020 for like the 10-year anniversary. And was just kind of making fun and being like, thanks to the friend who like gave this to the media. But to me, that was almost the beginning of the end, because then, she was in some movies. She was in The Last Song with Liam Hemsworth in 2010. And then in 2012 is when she chops off her hair and bleaches it. And that was like, I remember that picture being released and everyone being like, she cut her hair, which I was also like that because I was a kid and I was like, oh my God, she cut her hair. But looking back, it's a haircut.
Yeah.
It is, but a lot of her image was built on her hair, even as Hannah Montana. The whole wig thing?
Yes.
Like that was a part of her like identity. And so for her, that was a very public signal and sign. I remember kind of when that happened too, because I was like, I didn't follow Miley Cyrus. I didn't follow Hannah Montana, but even I was like, whoa, that's different.
Yes.
So I would say to our listeners out there, if you see, kids that are out there trying to put themselves out there and also going through trying to figure out who they are, be kind to them. Be kind to them.
I just remember, like, because I hadn't, since Hannah Montana, I hadn't really like paid attention to anything. And then all of a sudden she's like got no hair and she's like humping the floor and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So that was just the outrage, not outrage, but like.
No, I'd say outrage. I'd say outrage.
I mean, from like her hardcore fans for sure. But for most people, it's just like confusion of like.
Yeah. What? I mean, I think the way she talks about that era, she's like, it was part of me. It's what I wanted. But at the same time, I think she does kind of recognize like, yeah, it was pretty wild, but here's the reasons why. And whether you agree with that or not, I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation, but I think it goes back to the idea of you're literally growing up and trying to figure out yourself. And something that I want to point out with that is, okay, so in 2013, we get Bangers, her Bangers era, which is she releases the single We Can't Stop. Dale has never seen it, so we're going to do a reaction video to it in a separate video. And this video, I was obsessed with it. Why? I remember watching it and being like, oh my goodness, this is so weird and wild. She's crazy. She's so crazy. And then I couldn't stop watching it. I was just like, this is so interesting. Like there's so many colors going on. There's so many like weird things going on. She's like making a fry skull. Just crazy things. Cutting her fingers off. It was crazy. But this video literally set the Vivo record for most views within 24 hours of release and first to reach 100 million views on the site. So at this point, she's kind of transitioned into hip hop. So we've had bubblegum pop, dance pop, hip hop. Liam breaks things off in their engagement because she's like gone crazy. So, as David was saying, she then does like a performance with like Robin Thicke, and there's a foam finger, and it's this whole infamous thing with her tongue and foam finger, and it's just like, what is going on? And so I think, David, you're right.
And late night shows had a field day with that one.
Yes, it's like
and Saturday Night Live.
Outrage, but also making fun and just kind of confusion of like, why? But 2012 and 2013 were just a weird time in general for pop culture.
Right.
So I don't know. So at this point, she is kind of known to be weird. Like, oh, she's crazy. In 2015, she releases Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets, which is more like hippie, psychedelic, experimental pop. And then in 2016, her and Liam get back together. And so in 2017 is where we have this another huge shift. And she goes on Jimmy Fallon and she says that she's stopped taking drugs, period, even weed. And she's like, I did a lot of weed. Every time I've been on your show, Jimmy, I have been high as a kite. And at this point, she also releases her single Malibu and her album Younger Now, which is more like soft country pop album, kind of just reflecting on her life and reflecting on her eras. And at this point, I think she's saying like, yeah, I was crazy back then. I don't regret it, but yeah, it was a little wild, but also
Growing
like, yeah, I mean, I was in front of millions of people. What was I supposed to do?
You know, it's okay that as you grow up and as you continue to live your life, to look back at things that you've done in the past and, say, yeah, if I was in that same boat now, I wouldn't do that again.
Yes.
But, and learn from what you've done and consider things mistakes and be like, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I did. That's part of life. That's part of growing. And if you're a songwriter, use that stuff as inspiration.
Yes. And she does. I mean, it's literally called Younger Now.
Yeah.
Which I think is such a cool album title. David, since you have seen the We Can't Stop video, do you remember the phenomenon that it was?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I remember just obviously thinking what everyone else probably was thinking, oh no, this is her publicity team is having a field day with this.
Yeah.
And she's benefiting off of this, but she's going through something.
Yes.
And now, back then, you can't really identify with that unless you've been through that era of life. Because, quick kind of side note here, life is just a Pandora's box of horrors. It's gonna get bad, and no matter how you think if I was in that situation, I wouldn't do that. You don't know truly until you are in that situation what will happen. And so when we have to be careful when we judge others, in that lifestyle around all of that, there's decisions to be made. And a lot of those decisions impact your career, and and if you don't surround yourself with the right team, the right management, the right publicist, all of that, it's easy to fall into that culture.
Yes.
But this, I'm sure her team talked her into okay, this is going to cause the shift. This is the outrage is what she played off of clearly, but that doesn't mean she still wasn't in a very difficult
100%.
time.
I mean, like I said, through 2015, if you look at Miley Cyrus and her Dead Pets, that whole aesthetic, I mean, it's very hippie and stuff, but it was weird. It was still very weird, but people had kind of gotten used to it by that point. Mm-hmm. And then in 2017, it's whoa, she's normal again, whatever that means. So, and then 2018, her and Liam rekindle and they rekindled in 2016, but they get married. And then 2019, they split. In 2020, their divorce is final. So that happened. And then at this point, she has another big shift in 2020. Her 7th album is a rock album,
Yeah,
Classic
I heard
Hearts.
about that.
She has a mullet now. She does a cover of Blondie's Heart of Glass. It goes viral, which it was a pretty good cover.
I like
You've
this.
never heard it?
I might have to check it out.
You should listen to it. It's pretty good.
Because I think the reason I found out about that is I believe Demi also did a rock-inspired album released recently, and I heard one of those tracks, and I was pleasantly surprised.
But Demi, I will say, has always been heavily influenced by Paramore. Her and Selena literally talk about their obsession with Paramore when they were kids.
Right.
So it makes sense. And then as of 2022, she's still sober. So in 2020, she did have a relapse with alcohol during the pandemic, but other than that, she's I still don't do drugs. Good for her. And then in 2023, this year, we have Endless Summer Vacation, which to me is pretty dance pop again. But it's just so interesting. You've seen all these different genres that she's gone through to find herself. But every part of it is herself. All of those parts come together to make herself, and she still obviously has a lot of Plastic Hearts era left in her, but still probably a little bit of Bangers era and a little bit of Younger Now. And now she's at Endless Summer Vacation with the hit single Flowers, which was all over TikTok, chart topping for 13 weeks. She calls it a love letter to LA. I have not listened to the album. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't love Flowers, so I just don't think it's gonna be for me. Actually, I don't think I've listened to any of these albums in full. So, but so have y'all? I'm assuming y'all haven't listened to it.
No.
Yeah. So there's that. And then one more thing that I just want to mention that I kind of want to get y'all's opinions on. She also announced recently she's not touring anymore, and actually her last full tour was the Bangers Bangers era in 2014. But so a lot of people were upset about that. And she's like, look, I feel more connected with my fans now than ever, but I am just like tired of the hustle and bustle of living on the road, which I think is understandable. She says that it's isolating and not natural to perform in front of millions of people. And she said that's what's best for her for right now, and she may change, as she does change things a lot with her career. But for now, this is what she's good. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Miley, what's good? Do y'all know that reference?
No. I'm sorry.
Nicki Minaj, come on. Okay. What do y'all think of that, though?
So I agree with the touring lifestyle part of it, especially because touring now is so transactional. It's like you get up there, like, what city am I in? Oh, where am I going next? A lot of times you have rehearsals, you have, you're just constantly on this grind of a schedule. And by the end of the tour, you're just like a shell of what you should be. And it is not natural to do that. Your body isn't made for that. And the quality of your performances obviously is going to diminish at that point. But I think that's good. Like, I think that if you want to come off the road and you just want to, get in the studio and make that be where your outlet is, that's fine. And I'm sure, like, a lot of the reason people tour anyways is financial, right? Like,
financial.
You make a lot of money on tours. You make a lot of money off merch. Like, and I don't think she's really worried about that department now.
Well, also, like, as fans, you're not entitled to her touring. Like, you're not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
True.
In fact, as fans, you're really not entitled to anything. So get over it.
Yeah.
And
speaking of, this is the announcement for our tour. We're going on tour. No, kidding.
To a U2 home near you.
Successfully you.
No, but I mean, you're right. I mean, that's the big push for tours and the big push for concerts is financial. And I could go into the whole concept of how the income pool for the music industry has switched over time. David, I'm sure you're aware of that. Patrick, you might be as well. But, used to albums is where you made money. On
physical sales,
physical album sales, CDs, vinyls, cassettes, whatever that looked like. Well, starting with vinyls became, you could get into studio. If you could cut a song that was really good, if you could cut an album that was really good, you could sell it a lot.
Right.
And you made a lot of money in recording studios and selling physical medium, vinyls, and then on into the various formats of tape that sold on into CDs. CDs is kind of where it ended, right?
Yeah.
And because that was the last real physical medium. As that decreased and streaming took off, it became all about performing. That's where music is, and that's where the money is in the music industry.
Which is why concerts are so stupid expensive now.
If you are an artist, you have to accept, and I don't like this because I like studio work. You have to accept, though, that your recordings are merely the tool to get people to your shows.
Yep.
If you are trying to make money as an artist, the recordings are merely a tool to get people to your shows because that's where you're going to actually make money.
Your branding makes you money.
Yep. Exactly. And it's just part of your branding, not brownies.
Someone's hungry.
I really want some cookies or brownies or something.
You said browning.
I mean, hey, it's summertime. Get your tan
Part of your browning,
Endless summer vacation.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I think that about sums it up. Thank you, Miley. We really appreciate having you on the show today. Thank you, Annabelle. We also appreciate you. Speaking of, we actually will have an interview coming up next month. Another interview with Atlanta, our good friend. Love her. So I'm so excited. We're gonna be shooting it tomorrow.
She's part of the band Hexproof, so go check them out if you want to find out a little bit about them ahead of time. Check them out on social media. So, also, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let us know what you think.
And if you need a curse place, I'm your guy.
I can't wait to do this compilation. It's going to be great. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is Successfully Unsigned.